with another video from Melanated Media News, where alternative independent thinking is as simple as breathing. Now today, I have a very special film for you that I know you never heard about. Most people haven't heard about, but I think it's pretty important. If you can get your hands on it, I would recommend you check it out. The film is called Gabriel over the White House, and Gabriel is in reference to the angel Gabriel over the White House. This film is basically noted as being the first major motion picture to promote fascism right here in America, not in Germany. This predates the Nazi propaganda, media films, and Hitler's rise to up in Germany and different things like that. The film came out in 1933. There's two important things about this film that stand out. One is the Christian government politician connection, and two are the Trump similarities. And those two things basically they go hand in hand, because you can't have one without the other. If you remember Trump, and even to this day, and we have a video with the South Carolina delegate. You can check that out on the RNC playlist. And the South Carolina delegate, she's basically explaining how they were saying Trump was sent here by God, and she wanted to leave the Republican Party because of that. And she's talking about just basically the Messianic complex and worship of Trump turned her away from that party. And we see that. And also when you look at, like, you might hear your pastor say, well, we may not like him, but he's sent here by God so we can come together and this and that. And then you have this people of the same religion saying Trump is the savior. Trump is here to save us from the dirty politics, from the crooked politicians. Whereas those same people who feel Trump is the savior probably felt that Obama was the Antichrist. Now, the personality of what happens in the film essentially is that the newly elected president has a car accident and his personality completely changes. He was at first, when the film started, he was this politically correct, charming, nice spoken guy. Then he turns into this dictator, no nonsense kind of guy, which is what we see in Trump. Trump kind of used that reality TV persona to get the votes, to get the delegates, to get the party nomination. Then as, it slowly unfolded, even before the election, it's like, okay, he's kind of a no-nonsense. He's using the non-politically correct angle. He's using the politics have failed us angle, rather than we don't have jobs and we don't have this and that. Even though he did use that, but his main thing was, if you remember, he was saying he didn't know if he was going to run as a Democrat or Republican. Once the president is elected, you basically see him. He vows to stop the gangsters, the organized crime, the racketeering. He wants to enact martial law, and he wants to save unemployment. He wants to create jobs. This is around the Great Depression, so it's very, very, unemployment was really real back then. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the same thing Trump is doing. There was a lot of things with Trump being, and the president in the film, he banned the Congress. So, and when he crashed, he had the news and the media following him. And he was like racing them. He was leading them he was racing the media. And he spoke to them before, and he was kind of just establishing a relationship. And even though Trump doesn't have a relationship with them, with the media today, the media, they both recognize the importance of the media. So you have that connection, the media connection. The vow to stop the gangsters and organized crime connection. You have that with Trump in Chicago, and him maybe, I guess, threatening martial law. The president in this movie is threatening martial law. The president in this movie, he was fighting organized gangsters, organized crime in Chicago. You can kind of say that is organized gangsters and different things like that. Racketeering. And he wanted to stop the bootlegging industry in this film. The black market, they were getting too much money, and and the government wanted their cut. He was upfront and honest about it. He's basically saying that it's better to have a dictatorship rather than a democracy because it needs to get done. It needs to get done. It needs to. We can't really pussyfoot around if we want to get things done. So that no nonsense approach you see with Trump is here in this film. It's plain as day. The quote that stands out to me the most in this film is very early in the film when he's elected, before he has the car crash, and he's speaking with someone, and he's kind of naive where he's saying, I'm going to promise all of these things, I have to follow through on them. And the guy is saying basically, oh, you made all these promises, by the time they remember them, your term would be over. This was in the 30s, so this shows you that way of thinking, this is nothing new with politicians not fulfilling their promises, not fulfilling their election. This film kind of continues this, I want to say, stigma that only white men are proper vessels worthy for God or angels to speak through. And we know that film in Hollywood is a lot different today, but when you look at Trump, I don't remember any religious people thinking God was speaking through Hillary. The people were saying God was speaking through Trump, right? Even if Hollywood is a bit more liberal and diverse, these stigmas still are in our psyche today. And it's just, to me, it seems like this film was Trump's blueprint, if you look at it. You have this stigma that only white men have the answers, or only they're pure enough for God to speak through. It ignores the voices of other people, it ignores the other voices of God's creation. And we have to somehow break this stigma and this ideology that only God speaks through white men. Who would have thought that the first fascist film from over 80 years ago held the keys to Donald Trump's presidency? God works in mysterious ways indeed. That's all I have for you this week. Remember, think independently. Your future depends on it. Stay tuned for more Melanated Media news.